Shadowkiss, Chapter 14. About a half an hour before my alarm was scheduled to go off the next morning, I heard a knock at my door. I expected it to be Lisa, but sleepily checked out of her bond showed that she was still fast asleep. Puzzled, I started out of the bed and opened the door. A Morai girl I don't recognize handed me some folded clothes with a note attached. I wondered if I should tip her or something, but she left too quickly for me to react. I sat back on my bed and unfolded the clothing: black slacks, white blouse, and a black jacket. It was the same resemble that the other guardians wore around here, and it was in my size. Wow! I was about to become a part of the team. A slow grin spread over my face, and I opened the note. It was German's writing. Wear your hair up. The grin stayed on my face. A lot of female guardians cut their hair to show off their Molchna marks. I got regularly considered it once, and Drummond had told me not to. He loved my hair and had told me to wear it up. The way he could said it back then had given me chills, just like now. An hour later, I was on my way to the trial with Lisa, Christian, and Neith. Someone had rustled up a black and white outfit for each two, and I think we both kind of felt like kids playing dressed up with their parents' clothing. My cropped jacket and stretchy blouse were actually pretty cute, and I wondered if I could be able to bring these black with me. The courtroom was over in the large ornate building we could pass upon arrival, walking through its halls. It was a mix of the old and the new. Outside, it was all arched windows and stone spires. Inside, it was a hub of modern activity. People worked in office with flat screen monitors. Elevators lead to the upper floors. Yet, despite that, a few antique touches could still be found: sculptures on pedestals, chandeliers in the walls. The courtroom itself has beautiful murals that stretch from room floor to the ceiling, and in the front of the room, seals from all the royals' families hung on the walls. Lisa stopped as we walked in, her eyes falling on Dragmaroy Dragon, king of the beasts. A sea of conflicting emotions swelled within her as she started at the seal and felt the full weight of being the only one left to carry on her name. Pride to be the part of that family, fear that she could not be good enough to live up to the same name. Giving her a gentle nudge, I urged her on towards our seats. The seating was split up an aisle down the middle of the room. We sat at the front of the right hand section. There were still several minutes to go before proceeding began, but the room was not very full yet. I suspected that could not change due to the security surrounding what had happened with Victor. A judge sat on the front, but there was no jury. An elevated seat on the other side of the room marked where the queen could sit when she arrived. She could be the one who made the ultimate decision. That was how it worked with royal criminal case. It pointed it out to Lisa. Let's hope that she is against him. Look like she will be the only one making the decision. Lisa frowned. Not having a jury feels kind of weird. That is because we spend so much time around humans. She smiled. Maybe. I don't know. Just seems like there is a lot of room for corruption. Well, yeah, but this is Victor we are talking about. Moments later, Prince Victor Doshwak himself entered the courtroom, or rather, just Victor Doshwak did. He had been stripped of his title when he could be imprisoned. It had gone to the next oldest person in the Doshwak family. Fear shot through Lisa, and the little color that was in her cheeks completely disappeared. Mingled with the fear was an emotion I could had not expected: regret. Before he kidnapped her, Victor had been like an uncle to her. That was even how she could refer to him. She loved him, and he betrayed her. I put my hand on over hers. Easy, I murmured. It is going to be okay. Her eyes narrowed and cunning. His eyes, narrowed and cunning, looked around the courtroom as thought it was party. He had the same unconcerned look he had while talking to Jimmy and me. I left my lips curl into a sneer. A red hazel tingled my vision, and I worked hard to be as a siren as the other guardians in the room. He finally focused on Lisa, and she flinched at seeing the same eye color she and the others of her family had. When she nodded a sort of greetings to her, I felt my control snap. Before I could actually do anything, I felt new words in my mind. Lisa, breathe. Rose, just breathe. It looked like we are going to have a relay on each other to get through this. A heartbeat later, Victor was walking again off to take a seat to the left side of the room. Thanks, I said to her once he was gone. It is like you can read my mind. No, she said gently. I could just feel your hand. I looked down at where I could put my hands over hers. I could done it to comfort her and had ended up clenching her fingers in my own agitation. Yes, I said, jerking away and hoping I had not broken her bones. Sorry. Queen Titan's entrance followed his, which distracted me and helped calm my dark feelings. We all stood when she appeared and then knelt. It was all kind of artillery, but it was a custom the Mora had held over the years. We don't rise until she took her seat, and then the rest of us were able to sit too. The trial started. One by one, those who had witnessed the events with Victor gave their account of what they could see. Largely, they involved the guardians who had pushed Lisa when Victor had taken her away and who had substantially been part of the raid on Victor's hideout. Dermot was the last of the guardians to go. On the surface, his testimony was not much different than theirs. They could all had been the part of the rescue squad, but his part as the story had begun a little earlier. I was with my student, Rose Hathaway, he said. She shares a bond with Princess and was the first to sense what had happened. Victor's lawyer. I could not even imagine how they could gotten anyone to represent him. Glanced at some papers and then looked back up Drummond. Based on the events, it sounds like there were a delay between when she discovered that and when you alerted the others. Drummond nodded, his mask of composure never slipping. She could not act on it because Mr. Dishwak had inflicted a charm on her, that one that caused her to attack me. He spoke the words so lively, it amazed me. Not even the lawyer seems to notice anything, only I could see, or maybe it was just because I knew him, how much it hurt for Drummond to lie. Oh, he wanted to protect us, wanted to protect me in particular, which was why he was doing this, but it killed a piece of him to stand up there under oath and lie. Drummond was not perfect, no matter how much I thought he was. Some days he always tried to be truthful. Today he could not be. Mr. Doshwak works with earth magic and somehow use the power and a strong in compulsion can influence our basic instincts. Continued Drummond. In this case, he affected her anger and violence through an object. Off to my left, I heard a sound like someone choking on their own laughter. The judge, an elderly but fiercely Mora woman, glared. Mr. Doshwa, please respect the decorum of this courtroom. Victor, still smiling, waved his hand in apology. I am terribly sorry, Your Honor and Your Majesty. Something in Guardian Bullock's testimony just tickled my fancy. That's all. It won't happen again. I held my breath, waiting for the blow to fall. It don't. Drummond finished his statement, and then Christian was called up. His part was short. He could been with Lisa when she could been taken and had been knocked out. His contribution was being able to ID some of the victor's guardians and kidnappers. Once Christian sat down, it was my turn. I walked up, hoping I looked calm in front of those peoples and in front of Victor. In fact, I went out of my way to not look at him at all. As I said my name and gave my oath to tell the truth, I suddenly felt the full force of what Dermot must have experienced. I was standing before all the people, swearing I could be honest, but I could lie in an instant if the last charm came up. My version was pretty straightforward. I had details to offer from before the night of the kidnapping, like about when Victor had laid his sick traps to test Lisa's power. Otherwise, my story lined up with Drummond's and the other guardians. I could said before that I could lie well, and I brushed over the attack charm part with just such easy that no one paid any attention except Victor. Despite my refusal to look at him, I inwardly glanced in his direction when I mentioned the charm. His eyes bored into mine, and a small smirk sat on his lips. His smugness, I realized, was more than just because he knew I was lying. I was also because he actually knew the praises truth, and the look he gave me told me that he had that power over me and Dremet, the power to ruin everything for us in front of all these people, no matter what Dremet had threatened it. All the while, I kept my face calm enough to make Dremet proud, but inside my chest, my heart thundered loudly. It seems to last forever, but I know I was only one standing for a few minutes. I finished sagging with relief that Victor had not called me out, and then it was Lisa's turn. And the victim she offered the first new suspect thus far, and everyone thus grew caught up in her story. It was compelling. No one had ever heard anything like it. I also realized that without even trying, Lisa using her spit-induced charism. I think it came from the same place compulsion did. People were interrupted and sympathetic. When Lisa described the torture Victor had put her through to force her to heal him, I saw, I saw faces go pale with shock. Even dozen Titan's stern mask flared a little, though whether she felt a pity or just simple surprise, I could not say. The most amazing thing, though, was how calmly Lisa managed to deliver the story. On the outside, she was steady and beautiful, but as she spoke the words describing exactly how Victor's henchman had tortured her, she relieved the pain and terror of that night. The guy had been an hard user, and he toyed with the element, sometimes taking it away so she could not breathe, and at the other times smoothing her with it. It had been horrible, and I could experience this right along with her. In fact, I experienced it with her again now as she spoke about the events on the stand. Each painful detail was still etched in her mind, the pain echoing back to back of the four of us. We were both relieved when the testimony finished. Finally, it was Victor's turn. From the look on his face, you never could have guessed he was on trial. He was not angry or outraged. He was not content. He don't plead. He looked like he were hanging out somewhere, like he had nothing in the world to worry about. Somehow, that made me much angrier. Even when answering, he spoke as though he made perfect sense. When the prostituting lawyer asked why he could done what he had did, he looked at her as though she was crazy. Why? I had no choice, he said pleasantly. I was dying. No one was going to condemn me openly, experimenting with the prince's powers. What could you have done in my place? The lawyer ignored that. She was having a hard time keeping a disgust on her face. And you found coaxing your own daughter into turning Strigoi also necessary? Everyone in the courtroom shifted uncomfortably. One of the most awful things about Strigoi was that they were made, not born. A Strigoi could force a human, a Dampier, a Mora into become Strigoi if the Strigoi drank the victim's blood and then feed Strigoi blood back into the victim. It don't matter if the victim wanted it or not, and once she became Strigoi, she lost all the sense of her old moral self. She embarrassed become a monster and killing others to survive. Strigoi converted others if they found someone they thought could strengthen their ranks. Sometimes they did it just to out of cruelty. The other way a Strigoi could be made was if the Morai willing choose to kill another person during feeding, destroying all the magic and the life within themselves. Christian's parents had done that because they could wanted to be immortal no matter the cost. Victor's daughter Natalie had done it because he had talked her into it. The extra strength and speed she could gotten from being a Strigoi had helped her to flee him, and he could felt his goals was worth the sacrifice. Again, Victor showed no remorse. His answer was simple. Natalie made the decision. Can you say that about everyone you used to meet your ends? Guardians Bullock and Miss Hathaway had no say in what you made them do. Victor chuckled. Well, that is a matter of opinion. I honestly don't think they minded. But if you have time after this case, Your Honor, you might want to consider trying a statutory rape case. At force, he done it. He really done it. I expected everyone in the room to turn and point to Drummond and me. No one even looked in our direction though. Most people were giving Victor's appalled look. I realized that was exactly what Victor had known could happen. He just wanted to tease us. He don't actually expect anyone to take him seriously. Lisa, feeling through the bond, confirmed as much. She felt like Victor was trying to shift attention off himself by making up stories about Dermot and me. She was horrified that Victor could stood up so low. The judge was too, and she chastened Victor for getting off the topic. By the point, most of the questions was done, the lawyers wrapped up, and it was time for the Queen to deliver her verdict. I held my breath again, wondering what she could do. He had not denied any of the charges. The evidence was overwhelming, thanks to my friend's testimonies. But as even Victor had pointed out, there was a lot of corruption among royals. The Queen could very well decide that she don't want the scandal involved with imprisoning someone so well known. Even if no one knows the details, this imprisonment could start a buzz. Maybe she don't want to deal with that. Maybe Victor had bought her off. But in the end, she found Victor guilty and sentenced him to life in the prison. A different prison, not one at the court. I could hear stories about the Morai prison, and they were terrible places. I suspected his new home could be very different for the cell we could find him in. Victor remained calm, unamused thoughts at all, just as he had yesterday. I could not like that. The conversation I could had with him made me think he was not going to accept his as sincerely as he pretended. I hope they could watch him closely. A gesture from the Queen ended formalities. The rest of us stood up and began walking while she surveyed the room with a sharp eye, probably taking notes. Victor's escort started to lead him out. He passed us again. This time he stopped and spoke. Vazali, I trust you have been well. She don't answer. She still had feared him. But with his verdict, she finally believed he could no longer hurt her. It was like the end of the chapter. She could been stuck in for months. She could finally move on and hopefully let those horrible memories fade. I'm sorry we don't get a chance to talk, but I'm sure we will next time. He added. Come on, said one of the guardians with him. They led him away. He's crazy, muttered Lisa once he was gone. I cannot believe he said that stuff about you and Remit. Drummond was standing behind her. I looked up and met his gaze as he moved past us. His relief mirrored my own. We danced with danger today, and we won. Christian came up to her and hugged her, holding her for a long time. I watched them fondly, surprised at my own kind feelings for them. When a hand touched my arm, I jumped. It was Adrian. You okay, little champion? He asked her softly. Doshwa said a few suggestive things. I stepped closer, keeping my voice low as well. No one believed him. I think it's okay. Thanks for asking, though. He smiled and tapped my nose. Do thank yours in as many days. I don't suppose I will get to see you, huh? Special gratitude? I scoffed. No, you will just have to imagine it. He gave me a half hug and released me. Far enough. But I have a good imagination. We started to leave, and then Priscilla Oda hurried over to Lisa. The Queen could like to meet you with you before you leave in private. I glanced over to the raised chair where the Queen sat. She gaze was fixed on us, and I wondered what this could be about. Sure, said Lisa, as confused as I was. To me, she sent through the bond. Will you listen again? I gave her a quick note before Priscilla spirited her off. I returned to my room, turning into Lisa when I packed up things up. It took a little while before Titan had to finish a courtroom formalities, but she finally arrived in the same room as yesterday. Lisa and Priscilla bowed as she entered and waited for the Queen to sit. Titan made herself comfortable. Vasa, Lisa. You need to be in the air soon, so I will make this brief. I could like to make an offer to you. What kind of offer, Your Majesty? You will need to go to the college soon. She spoke like it was done deal. And yeah, Lisa did plan on going to college, but it don't like the prescription. I understand you're dissatisfied with your choices. Well, it is not that I am dissatisfied exactly. It is just all the places Mora are supposed to go are small. I mean, I understand it is for safety, but I don't know. I like to go somewhere bigger, somewhere prestigious. Guardian monitored a handful of select colleagues in the country so that Mora could safely attend them. As Lisa had noted, though, they tend to be smaller schools. Titan nodded impatiently, like she already knew this. I'm going to give you an opportunity that no one else had ever been given, to my knowledge. After graduation, I'd like you to come and live here at the royal court. We have no family, and I like you could benefit from the learning politics right in the heart of the government. Along with this, we could have make arrangements for you to attend a line university. It is less than an hour from here. Have you heard of it? Lisa nodded. I have never heard of it, but she was enough for a nerd to have researched every college in the US. It is good school, Your Majesty, but still small. It is bigger than the ones Mora usually attend, she pointed out. True. In her mind, Lisa was trying to puzzle out what she was going on here. Why was Triton making the effect, especially considering how she could seems to disagree with Lisa earlier. There was something weird going on here, and she decided to see how far she could push it. The university, Pennsylvania, is not that far either, Your Majesty. That school is enormous, Lisa. We could not ensure your safety there. Lisa shudged. Well, then it probably does not matter if I go to Lehal or one of the others. The queen looked shocked. So did Priscilla. They could not believe Lisa seemed indifferent to the other. Truthfully, Lisa was not indifferent. Lay was a step up from what she expected, and she wanted to go, but she also wanted to see how badly the queen wanted her to go. Titan frowned and appeared to be weighing matters. Depending on your grades and experiences at lately, we could possibly arrange you to transport in a couple of years. Again, the safety logistics could be very difficult. Wow. The queen did want her down, but why? Lisa decided to simply ask. I am very flattered, Your Majesty, and grateful, but why are you offering me this? As the last Dragamora, you're the precious commodity. I could like to make sure your the future is secured, and I do so hate to see bright minds wasted. Besides, she paused, hesitant to speak her next words. You are right. To the certain extent, the more I do have trouble changing. I could be useful to have dissenting voice around here. Lisa, don't answer right away. She was still analyzing this offer from every possible angle. She wished I was there to advise her, but I was not sure I could have much of an opinion. Splitting my guardian's duty between the court and the cool university could be pretty neat. On the other hand, we could have more freedom elsewhere. In the end, Lisa decided a favor of higher education. All right, he said at last. I accept. Thank you, Your Majesty. Excellent, said Titan. We will see the arrangements are made. You may go now. The queen made no sign of moving, so Lisa bowed again and scurried to the door. Still reeling in the news, Titan suddenly called out to her, Vessa, Lisa, you will send your friend here to talk to me? The Hathaway girl? Rose? She asked in astonishment. Why do you? Yes, of course. I will get her. Lisa hurried toward guest house, but I met her halfway. What is going on? I asked. I have no idea, said Lisa. Did you hear what she said? Yep. Maybe she wants to tell me how I had to be extra careful with you going to the school. Maybe. I don't know. Lisa gave me a quick hug. Good luck. I will see you soon. I went to the same room and found Titan standing with her hands clasped, posture stiff and impatient. She was dressed like a corporate businesswoman again, with a sleek brown blazer and a skirt set. That color could not have been my first choice to go with her dark gray hair, but that was her style, advertised problem, not mine. I bowed just as Lisa had and glanced around the room. Lisa was gone, only a couple of Koreans remained. I expected Titan to tell me to sit, but instead she stood up and walked right over to me, her face. Don't look happy, Miss Hathaway, she said sharply. I'm going to keep this brief. You're going to stop this atrocious affair you're having with my great nephew immediately.